For many decades, LGBTQ individuals have been severely underrepresented in historical representations of the Holocaust. Specifically, they have been erased as victims of the Holocaust. It was not until 1985 that the LGBTQ community was mentioned for what they suffered through when they were arguably treated the worst by Nazi soldiers and even other prisoners in concentration camps. Very few survivors have come forward about the inhumane torture and brutal labor that homosexuals were forced to survive during their time in the camps. In the 1920s, the LGBTQ community was thriving in Berlin, Germany. There were well established communities and organizations that held pride events. At this time, Berlin was known as the queer capital of the world. This all ended on May 6, 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power as Chancellor of Germany. The Nazi Party shut down and raided all the LGBTQ institutions that sought out anyone who threatened their ideals. This was the beginning of LGBTQ people being unfairly punished and not represented from decades to come. The Institute of Sexual Science was an organization that provided thousands, including LGBTQ community members, with counseling, sex education, treatment for STIs, and other sexual health related concerns. This was a place that provided a safe space and a voice for queer people. Magnus Hirschfeld was the head of the Institute for Sexual Science. He studied sexual science and was also a gay man. He was one of the first people to note that homosexuality is not a choice, but rather a character trait that you can be born with. When Hitler came to power, the institute was shut down and raided. The library was burned, and Hirschfeld was nearly beaten to death because of opinions and work about homosexuality. Life before the rise of the Nazi regime and Adolf Hitler for LGBTQ people was a lot simpler. There were laws against homosexual relations, but they were hardly enforced. People of all sexual and gender identities could be free and did not have to hide their true selves. The law that banned homosexuality was called Paragraph 175 of the German Criminal Code. Before the Holocaust, the first version stated that sexual relationships between men were prohibited. When Adolf Hitler came to power, this was revised and separated into two parts. This law was then heavily enforced. Sexual relations between two men, as well as male prostitution, were made illegal. Men could even be thrown in jail for hugging each other or even for looking at another man in a sexual way. Because of paragraph 175, hundreds of queer people were sent to prison. Others were sent to concentration camps. The prison sentence was a minimum of 3 months. The treatment they faced was harsh. LGBTQ people were seen as the lowest of the low by the Nazis and by other prisoners.
Mistreated by other prisoners. How? Due to this reason that I stated that I had something with Willie. Not exactly, but they called me pedal. Pedal it's mean like in German schwul in bad way. Yeah. And therefore I was treated bad. If I were thief, if I were murder, they could accept me, but not this. Were you beaten by other prisoners? No, no, this no. But if I wanted to have better bed place, no, you must go there. You have a smell. You have differently smell, and this is. No. It was not nice stay at this, and without job, only sitting. You can't imagine how long is the day. And then I was at the corner only sitting, so they never asked me for something without talking. And I was at this time in my civil clothes, and I was so hungry. Some of them they dealt for one piece of bread they took one shirt and they gave me wrong, better in wrong quality. But I could give everything only to, but even these small pieces of bread never filled me my stomach.
In concentration camps, queer people were subjected to inhumane experiments and some of the harshest labor. They were also made subjects of controversial experiments. These conditions led to the deaths of many LGBTQ individuals inside the camps. Many were tortured to death. Some prisoners were sodomized by soldiers with broken broomsticks and iron poles. Soldiers would often assault prisoners by taking a male and placing their genitals in boiling water. Castration using radiation of genitalia was another common type of punishment for LGBTQ people. Records indicate that in one camp, gay men were given pink triangles on their chests. These triangles were used as a target practice for Nazi soldiers. It was also common for LGBTQ individuals to die by suicide in the camps in an effort to escape the torture. LGBTQ men were 10 times higher than the global inmate population to die by suicide. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis saw the deaths of gay men as protecting the German bloodline by eliminating immoral sins. Gay men were not the only group of LGBTQ individuals who were targeted during the Holocaust. Specifically, there is very little record or representation of the struggles within the lesbian community through the Holocaust. While lesbians were considered sinful, lesbianism was not seen as a threat to the German bloodline. The Nazis believed that it was acceptable to rape and force childbirth for all women, including lesbians. When the camps were liberated, people were freed in prison and Hitler's laws were redacted with the exception of paragraph 175. This meant that people imprisoned for homosexuality under paragraph 175 were still forced to serve the rest of their punishments and their lifestyles were still punishable by law. Others who were prosecuted under Hitler's reign were able to seek compensation. Queer people did not have this right. Because paragraph 175 was not abolished, they were forced to continue to hide their identities to avoid imprisonment. It was not until a 1985 speech by Richard von Weizsäcker that the LGBTQ people were recognized for what they suffered through during the Holocaust. Von Weizsäcker said, "We commemorate the Sinti and the Roman Gypsies, the homosexuals and the mentally ill who were killed, as well as the people who had to die for their religious or political beliefs." Paragraph 175 wasn't officially abolished until 1994. Only in 2002 were the victims pardoned. Compared to the other groups targeted in the Nazi Germany, this was a significant discrimination against the LGBTQ community. The pink triangle was a symbol used to mark those in camps for homosexuality. The pink triangle has since been reclaimed, and the upside down version of it continues to be used as a symbol of pride in the LGBTQ community. The inverted pink triangle can be seen at pride events all over the world. It is used to show that the LGBTQ individuals cannot and will not be erased and they can stand through adversity. LGBTQ people in the Holocaust have not been well represented in historical record, but there are some notable instances in pop culture. For example, Dr. Frankenfurter, the main character of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, identifies as queer. He wears a pink triangle on his lab coat in an iconic scene in which he unveils what he considers the perfect male specimen for a partner that he made all himself.
In just 7 days. Oh, baby, I could make you a man.
The song Pink Triangle by Weezer is about being in love with a lesbian. The musical Cabaret depicts life in the Kit Kat Club pre Hitler in Berlin and its queer culture. It shows the fleeting freeness queer people had during the Holocaust and how everything slowly got worse in the outside world.
So, life is disappointing. Forget it. Here, life is beautiful. The girls are beautiful. Even the orchestra is beautiful.
Over the course of many decades, LGBTQ plus rights have been erased from history over and over again. This has been during and after the Holocaust and throughout the rest of the world, even in current time. The wheels of justice seem to turn in slow motion for this group of individuals, all because they are seen as different from the rest.